This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode, and I've got Anna Hislop here today, and she recently released a new book about Gen Z workplace engagement. She's a author, speaker, leadership coach, has a lot of background and experience. I'm really excited to delve into the conversation with her. So Anna, welcome.
Thank you, Christopher.
Yeah, before we dive into the book, which is going to be really interesting, talk about your background, how you got started, and I'm really excited to delve into the convo.
Thank you. First of all, thanks for having me here. It's super exciting to spend some time talking about Gen Z and the incredible waves they are creating in the workplace today. But yes, just to keep it short and sweet, my name is Anna Hislop. I'm a Swede who just moved back to Sweden from spending 4 years in the UK, where I worked in leadership training, development, and coaching. I'm also doing a master's in organizational psychology.
Yeah, really interesting. And the first thing is we'll talk about is what spurred this motivation and impetus to write the book as opposed to a digital course or...
Now, Will, thanks. So first of all, this book is a collaboration between myself and my co-author, Peter Lightfoot. It's a shared adventure that we've had, and it's been great fun collaborating with him along the way. He's got a long background in leadership coaching, and I was the one who brought the Gen Z focus really into the mix. I used to be an A-level teacher teaching this generation, and I instantly noticed that there was something different about them when I met them in the classroom. And then I'm also currently meeting them in organizations when I'm doing my leadership trainings as well as coaching. And I think the key message that I want to convey here with this book is that I want readers to really take away that understanding and valuing the perspectives of Gen Z can really transform their workplace dynamics. It's by simply asking the right questions, leaders can uncover what they need and what they want and how to motivate this generation and also how to support them. And I think that is a key thing currently in the workplace, is finding ways to support Gen Zs to do their best work.
What is it about? The question is, what is it about Gen Z that makes them different or so special that prompted you to write the book?
Yeah, they're characterized a very proactive approach. They want to do meaningful work. They have got really high expectations for support and feedback. They're super attuned to issues like mental health, social justice, environmental sustainability, etc. But unlike previous generations, they're not that tolerant to the traditional management style. They don't work really well with that traditional management style, and they are more likely to leave their job if they don't feel supported in the workplace. So that's different, and that makes them stand out in today's world of work. They have a very high level of individuality. They strive for authenticity. They don't have as high level of loyalty, perhaps compared to other generations, or towards their employer. Yeah, so that makes them stand out.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because this divide is almost like a generational divide. And then what that brings me to mind is a lot of Gen Zs now are not going to college, and a lot of them are not joining the workforce. They're starting their own companies. How does a Gen Z with these ideals, characteristics, it's almost like they're not fit for the corporate world? So how do they reconcile this? Should they become entrepreneurs, or should corporations evolve, or are they going to create the next corporations? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so my thoughts on that, I think a lot of them will choose the entrepreneurial route and be their own boss in the future because that's how they work best. But of course, to be able to do that successfully, sometimes we need some experience, don't we? And we either need to learn job, or we need to get experience, etc. So having a few years in the workforce, I think, is beneficial for all of us, really. And there's a common misconception that they are really hard to manage, they're difficult, but it overlooks some of the things that shape this generation. So they grew up in a time with high economic instability, with this kind of raised mental health awareness, the rapidly changing world. And they have a desire for authentic leadership. They have a desire for a commitment to social causes. And when they don't see it in the workplace, they start to withdraw. And I'm not saying that being your own boss is the solution for all of these problems. We need to embrace this generation and invite them into the workplace, but it might mean that we need to change the traditional ways of management and actually seek to understand this generation, what they bring and what they want and what they need. And we need to be more supportive and possibly even more caring than we're used to. And this is a big shift. And it's also something that senior management struggling to do because they don't feel they've got the time to do it, or they don't necessarily believe that it's what they should be doing in their day to day.
Yeah. And there's also, if you look at senior management, it's like only one, it's like a certain archetype, and you cannot
Yeah.
see them clashing with this new Gen Z.
Yeah, absolutely. But it takes two to tango, doesn't it? And it takes two to close the gap as well. So my invitation to all senior managers listening to this, or just operating out there in the real world, is to be open and curious about this generation, and to be willing to change a few things with your own style to better accommodate this generation.
Yeah. The one interesting question is, what are the biggest challenges organizations face when integrating Gen Z into the workforce, and how can these challenges be turned into opportunity?
Yeah, that's a great one. And it's a big one, isn't it? So I think managers today, they need to adapt to more flexible style and more empathetic style to be able to meet this generation, prioritize clear communication. Feedback is another massive thing for Gen Zs. They want to know how they're getting on, and they want to be able to course correct if they're heading in the wrong direction. So having that kind of close contact with your younger workers and employers to be able to support them and to make these changes in the way they're working if needs be. What else is important? I think, inviting them to the table. Generation Z they are used to being listened to. If we think back to their time in education, even the younger years, they're used to student surveys. They're used to giving opinions and evaluating teachers and having ideas of how to shape the curriculum, etc. So they're used to making their voices heard and to have input and impact on the end result. And when we then go forward into the workplace and suddenly Gen Zs, they're not being asked what they think about certain things, then they feel unheard.
Yeah. The other question I have for you is, what strategies can organizations implement to build trust and foster open communication with their Gen Z employees?
It says it all in this book here. You only have to ask. It's all about starting that communication, and it's all about getting to know each other, to fully understand why we operate the way we do, and to start to appreciate what we bring, the strengths that we bring, the challenges that we bring as well. In the book, I talk about this framework with 8 different questions that we all need to know the answer to be able to give our best and to thrive in the workplace. And it's around expectations. It's around knowing the why, understanding the bigger picture. It's about feeling aligned to that mission and purpose that the business has. And very often we write these words, we have our mission statements, it's in a document somewhere or it's on our website, but we don't actually talk about it in our day to day. So to be able to engage Gen Z and to really get them on board, we need to speak about the bigger picture, and we need to speak about the business purpose and helping them understand how they fit in. Because when they do understand how they fit in and why they are the right person to do that particular job, they will reward you with abundance in terms of their energy, their passion, and their skills.
Hmm. A follow-up question to that is, how does the role of education and also the role of remote work and flexible work fit into this paradigm with corporations, Gen Z, and cultures?
Biggie, that one. So I think education shaped this generation a lot. And they are used to this quick feedback that I mentioned earlier. They're used to caring teachers, they're used to supports, and they're used to bespoke solutions as well. So this generation is the first generation who really had teachers who were trained in how to teach kids with neurodiversity, how to teach kids with difficulties concentrating, etc. And they used bespoke solutions, and they offered up different types of examination methodologies, etc., just to fit this particular individual. So this kind of feeling of it's bespoke, it's for me, this is unique to me, and it's all about my identity. That kind of shaped this generation. And of course, they will bring that into the workplace as well. So it's about finding that balance of making it as bespoke as possible without spending too much time so you miss your KPIs, of course.
Yeah. Moving on, this question is, I'm always interested in trends. So what trends do you foresee in the workplace as more members of Gen Z enter the workforce, and how can companies prepare for these changes?
I see a trend in higher absentee numbers, that this generation has generally higher sick days per year compared to other generations, and whether this is a result of their increased mental health issues, or that they acknowledge how they're feeling and not feeling up for it, or not feeling fit for work for a particular reason, and they actually listen to their bodies rather than going anyway and just getting on with it, as some older generations might have used as their technique or strategy. I'm not really sure. I think research will give us that answer in due course. But higher absentee numbers, more focus on diversity, equity, inclusion, and celebrating that. For Gen Z, that's a hygiene factor. It's just expected to be there in the workplace, that we welcome everybody and everyone to bring their whole self to work. I think we'll see trends in more focus on the purpose and the mission, and having that kind of environmental sustainability approach. Again, it's a hygiene factor for Gen Z. They just expect it to be there. And when they don't see it, or when they recognize that it's lip service, they will probably pack their bag and go elsewhere.
Yeah, I really like this because we're going to talk about the future trends and the role of technology. Oh, a corollary to what you were talking about is, what was interesting was, one of my colleagues, she's Gen Z, and she asked for time off, and the employer said no. And they said, if you take time off, you'll be fired. And I'm just going to fire myself. And a lot of Gen Z are just going to just walk off the job. It doesn't resonate. They just later. But
Yeah.
what's interesting is, we talked about technology and
Mm,
all of the internet and social media, and now we've got AI really
mm.
people to really empower. So how does technology fit in with Gen Z, and talk about the good and the bad, and how it fits into the cultural workforce?
Yeah, an interesting that one there, Christopher. And I think technology has a significant impact on all generations, and it shapes us, doesn't it, in how we act, and what we find important, etc. And with Gen Z, it's taking it to new levels in many ways. And social media, this generation is obviously digital natives. That's what they all say in the press when they describe this generation. They're the first ones who are growing up with a smartphone in their pocket, and they're some might call it addiction to social media, spending 5, 6, 7 hours per day on social media is obviously affecting their mental health as well. We're creating a society based on comparison, which is contributing to feelings of loneliness and depression, being unsatisfied with who we are. So it's creating a lot of stress, and it's creating a lot of pain for this generation. And I don't think the older generations have a full understanding of what that means. On the other hand, of course, they're also growing up during the AI revolution, and they're new in the workforce during the AI revolution, and they'll be able to support and help the older generation understand this and see the urgency of this, and be open to new creative solutions. And I think that kind of entrepreneurial flair and an openness to new technology is something that will enhance our workplaces as well, and make them a better place. But it's that conflict between old systems, slow systems, and slow ways of communicating with each other. Gen Zs, they don't like the phone, and they don't like emails. They want to have short, instant messages with their teammates on Slack or on WhatsApp or any other of those kind of platforms. So it's also showing that division between the generations. And in some cases, that is creating conflict and frustration.
Yeah, I love that. How can people find more about you and reach out to you about the work that you do and check out your book and so on?
Yeah, so my book can be found on online retail pages, any other big ones really. It's called You Only Have to Ask: How to Realize the Full Potential of Gen Z in the Workplace. And the word realize is actually quite interesting, and it's got two meanings. First of all, it's about the older generation fully realizing what the Gen Z can offer to them in the workplace. So that's one important reason why we chose that word. And the second one is actually, how do you do it? How do you realize the full potential? And that speaks to the framework that we introduce in this book. You can also reach me on LinkedIn. If you search for Anna Hislop, I'll pop up as a Gen Z engagement expert. You can follow my work there as well.
Yeah, and for all the audience, we'll thank Anna for coming on, and be sure to check out the book, which will be in the links in the show notes, and check out her social media, LinkedIn. And thanks so much for coming on and for a fascinating discussion.
Thank you. Thanks, Christopher. Thanks for having me.